Ladies and gentlemen, nerds and neckbeards, welcome to another edition of Westworld.
Wheneverly.
Hi,
Dave.
Hi, Tana. Today, we're doing a special edition.
We are. A daytime edition.
We've done one other daytime, I think, before.
I think we did, yep. I seem to remember mimosas.
Maybe two or three, because I think one time we didn't drink.
Yeah. Oh.
And we thought we were terrible, because I think we're only good when we drink.
I think you're right about that.
And the second time, we definitely did a brunch mimosa episode recently.
And we are only entertaining.
Yes.
I think people need us to be drinking.
Wasted,
because they're just not
we're
not there otherwise.
So it's 10:25 in the morning, and why don't you tell everyone what we did?
Oh, David. So I came over and I said, I think today's a no drinking podcast. I think we'll just do ice water. And, and Dave was like, no.
No.
What was the name of the episode?
The name of the episode was Akane No More. Akane No Mai.
Yep. And so Dave thought ahead and got sake bombs for us.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
You came through. This is some planning on your part.
Whoa, I'm a planner. All right.
Are you, Dave? Are you?
For the most part, I'm a planner.
And so what goes into a sake bomb for those that may not know?
So for those of you that may not know, it's a nice Sapporo beer, or you can get a Kirin Ichiban or whatever they're called. But I like Sapporo.
It's Japanese brewed beers.
And you take a little shot of sake. In our case, it was chilled, non-milky sake.
Yep.
So you
clear
don't want
rice wine.
Clear rice wine. And you drop the shot in and you chug.
And you chug the beer. And what you didn't hear, podcast land, were some epic burps after. And then, the right way to do a sake bomb.
You're supposed to put the shot on chopsticks above your beer.
So you have a glass beer.
Glass of beer. Yep.
That's about half full of beer. And then
you put chopsticks on top.
Pair of chopsticks.
Yep. And you put the little shot glass on top, and you bang the table, and you're like, sake.
And the chopsticks roll up further apart, and dropping the shot into the beer.
And you chug.
Which, as soon as it falls, you chug.
That's right. It's kind of like a car bomb.
It is.
But with sake and, very light beer.
Yes.
So
much easier, actually. I'm used to only doing...
Not as creamy of a flavor, like a car bomb is
a traditional Irish car bomb
is Guinness and Bailey's.
Guinness and Bailey's, that's right. So you have a heavier, creamier
Kickball
chugging
Thursdays are $3 car bombs. There's been many a night where it's been
I'm gonna have to take a
round of car bombs for everyone.
I try to get all my friends and Kirsten to do car bombs with me on the one day of the year I'm allowed to do them. Not allowed to do them, but it's not frowned upon.
St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, St. Patty's Day. And none of my friends are Irish or give a fuck. And so I'm begging people to do a car bomb with me once a year, and I can't get anyone to do it. It's quite pathetic.
Just come out on Thursdays. We'll do one.
I know, I'll have to. Oh, sorry, I missed the game, guys.
Sorry, I missed the game, but, I'll do a car bomb. No problem.
But and then epic burps. Lots of burps from all the fuzzy beer going down. Chug.
And, of course, it's 10:25 in the morning, so...
Oh, man.
We're rolling.
We got this. Stump Dave.
We're going to start it right off.
We're jumping
right in. Stumping Dave, let's go.
What does Akane No Mai mean?
Lady Akane, Madam Akane, was the geisha host.
Ding, ding,
Madam
Correct.
Geisha, whatever her name is.
Yep.
She's Maeve.
Yep.
Literally, she's Maeve.
Yep.
Well, to some extent. And No Mai, I think, means no more.
Oh, well, a good guess.
Or no bread?
Nope.
No. Mean bao is more bread, please, I think, in Chinese.
Oh. I
just know that from my World of Warcraft days.
I think we're in Shogun world, which is Japanese.
Yeah.
But,
that would...
people don't come to us for our deep cultural knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
But Akane No Mai, according to the wiki, or the Googles, means Akane's dance.
Well, that makes sense.
Right? So...
And can I just say, I knew from the start when she was dancing that one of those hairpins was a
Well, they shot
dagger.
it in an interesting way. They shot her from behind on the head. The focus is on the headpiece.
Yes.
Which, if you've seen any sort of ninja movies, also there were ninjas.
Yeah.
Ninja movies, you know that there's going to be a dagger in there.
Yeah.
Or some sort of shiv.
So since you have no notes,
no notes this
let's
week.
Start from the beginning of this episode.
Lead us off, Dave.
I'm gonna jump us right in because I just watched it again.
All right.
I didn't take any notes though because I don't take notes.
Surprising no one.
This is so this will probably be butchering this, but we're going in anyway because, well, that's my motto.
Let's see. Do you ever listen to the podcast The Adventure Zone?
No.
Magnus Rushes In is a big
Is
thing.
that their thing? They go in every time?
It's a Dungeons & Dragons.
I was going to ask you, is it a tabletop type of game?
Magnus rushes in. Yeah. So Dave rushes in.
Dave goes in anyways.
Yep.
Roll initiative. Shit. Anyway, so we start off with Bernard.
Yep. Okay.
And he's in what looks like the Mesa, and they're kind of like dissecting and gathering all of these hosts. And what we, what we take away from this really is that they're trying to figure out Ford's story.
Yep.
And so they're cutting open these hosts' heads.
We think this is the current timeline. This is right now.
I think this is current timeline. They're cutting open heads. They're taking the eggs, putting them on the tablets, and the guy's like, this is really weird. These hosts don't have any code, but it's not just that. They don't have no impressions, no prints, no personality. It's almost as if they've never been coded before.
Right.
Almost like they were freshly printed and placed in the water as decoys.
Right. So they're obviously decoys.
I mean, I don't know if they're obviously decoys, but it seems very interesting.
Wasn't there a thing where one of the guys was like, so you're telling me we lost a third of our IP?
Yeah.
One of the things that stuck out to me in this episode, because our big question is, what's the data that they want to get off the island?
Yeah.
I went back and watched the first season episode where Teresa meets her untimely demise.
Oh, yeah.
And because I remembered something in that conversation that Ford had where he said something about it's you people that want to play God. And I wanted to know if there were allusions or like sort of, any sort of foreshadowing that I might have missed.
the whole Jim Delos thing?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what they're doing, right? They're playing God in that case.
And so it sounds like he's telling Teresa that he knows about the Jim Delos and the trying to code humans and it's not beat you over the head stuff, but it could be read that way. It could very easily be read that way. And we know in that scene he's building a host.
Yeah.
And so
who's he building?
And so the
data
steals,
and we know he steals from last episode. We know he has Bernard steal a human host
or he
code
makes
braid,
one.
Or he makes one. He 3D prints one.
Yeah, he did the whole thing. So Bernard was there, murder sauces the two dudes, leaves one faceless host.
Drone host, yeah.
And we don't know. So the data is the characters, the IP, the consciousness, the human robot.
It could also be, like you said, it could be human secrets, right?
Yeah.
DNA samples from other people. This is why we think Man in Black's daughter, Cowgirl, doesn't want to ride a host.
Right.
She wants to ride a human,
right? Because they can't collect her. It's harder to collect.
You know what they
stuff.
say, save a host, ride a cowboy instead. So
save a cowboy, ride a cowgirl. No.
Save a host.
Save
a host.
Yep.
Ride a human instead.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Got it.
That's what it
Bringing
is.
it back to the Mesa.
Bring it back. Yeah, so the Mesa.
The guy, one of the dudes in the scene says, so you're telling me we lost a third of our IP? It's just gone?
Yep.
Like that. And so, okay.
But they're still looking for Abernathy.
Yep.
They make this comment like, where's Abernathy? We're still looking for him. We're out looking for him.
Where do we land with Abernathy? When's the last time we see him?
So the last time we've seen him, and it's not in the current timeline, right? The last time we see them is CEO lady grabs him, puts him in the
big shootout scene.
In the jumper, right?
Hopeless Fort Hope.
Yeah, right. Fort Lorne.
Forlorn
Hope. And then they drive away.
Yeah.
And I think Bernard's with them.
Yeah, Bernard
stays back.
Yeah, he was in the room and he had been plugged in, hardwired into Abernathy, and he sees that they're coming. So he rips out the cord and scuttles into a corner and hides while they scoop up Abernathy and take him away.
But this episode that we're talking about today, episode 5, really kind of has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we get that first glimpse at the beginning.
Yep.
Right? So they're keeping us on the breadcrumb.
Yep.
And then they switch gears completely.
And we're in Shogun World for the rest of the time.
Yeah, Shogun World, and we get a little bit of Dolores and Teddy, which,
Yeah.
like, this season has been kind of like, what's going on?
I mean, we'll talk about it when we talk about it, but
Okay, so we start off in Shogun World. We come out, and there's a samurai coming around swinging swords at people. And we learn a little bit more about Shogun World. We learn...
Were you looking forward to Shogun World? Because they teased it last season, didn't they?
Yeah, a little bit I was looking forward to it. And a little bit I was like, I had this question, right? Like, in a world that we talked about on our podcast, in a world where guns are like safeties, right? And they can't hurt humans, how do you prevent a sharp object like the woodcutter who had weapons privileges, right? How do you kind of protect humans in that case?
It seems like a really big plot hole to me.
And I think I think they fill it in a little bit, right? Or at least they try to, right? They're walking around and they're talking to Britpop, and Britpop's kind of like, Shogun World is where you go if you want a little bit more danger.
Oh yeah, like, he does say that.
He makes that comment. He's like,
it's all blood and gore or something like that.
Westworld is a little bit safer because the guns, are the main damage source, and in this case, it's a little bit more edgy, pun intended.
Does he say that?
He doesn't say that. I said that. All right.
Like usually, I pick up on his ineffectual quips, David.
Yes. Yeah. I know. You didn't get mine though.
No. So what are they doing here?
I think they just reached the edge, right, of like the park, and then they're continuously going on. They're looking for Sector 1. They got lost somewhere along the way, and now they're in Shogun World. And what's awesome is it's paralleled, right?
Is it awesome or is it lazy writing?
So, Britpop says this, right? He says it's hard to come up with 300 narratives in 30 weeks or whatever it was, or 3 weeks. So essentially,
it's just Maeve's Mariposa brothel in a Shogun World dressing.
Yep.
So Akane is Maeve.
Yep.
Sakura, what's the chick's name? The
Clementine.
Is the
Sakura
Clementine.
Is the Clementine, and then the other dude, I think his name was like Moshkin.
Instead of Hector, it's the
Mushkin.
Yeah,
we'll call him Mushy.
Mushy.
he's forever now known as Mushy the Samurai.
Yeah, Mushy the Samurai is Hector. And
they hate each other. Isn't that awesome? Like the whole time they're just like,
what are they? Why did we have this episode?
I'm not sure. I think
did it forward the plot in some significant way?
I think what it did is it brought us to, and the big reveal is the mesh network.
So Maeve has powers now. She's an
admin, right? We know she's an admin, and I think she's finally discovering her Wi-Fi card.
So and
now
on
that
her
she's
LAN network.
on her WAN network, wireless area network, all right? And she's discovering her Wi-Fi card, and now she's realizing that she can infect or at least, send commands over the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, what did you think of the Ghost Smasher head on the spike scene?
Oh, I'm like watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, that's some good special effects.
That was
that's like some Walking Dead level special effects right there.
It really was. There were just so many things in this scene. I think it's probably clear to those of you that know me very well that I'm not a huge fan of this episode.
Yeah.
It just falls like I can't make sense of it. I don't know why they did it. Yeah. I don't know what the purpose of it was.
So let me ask you this. When did you realize that it was a parallel? It was like
almost immediately.
Same, really? Immediately?
Well, like they had the butterfly, is Mariposa, which you and I have talked about.
Right. And so that's the reason that I knew, is I saw the butterfly and I was like, Mariposa. And then they were like, Mariposa. And I was like,
And they were doing, I think, visually, the way that they filmed it, they were doing visual parallels between Maeve and Akane.
They played that song,
Back to Black. Back in Black, which I thought was
something like that.
Amy Winehouse song, but I think it was originally like a Rolling Stones song.
Okay,
but Amy Winehouse.
But they played that on the Japanese music. That was kind of cool.
And I found myself watching it. Last week's episode was such a high. It was so good.
Episode 4 was really good.
It was the best, I think, of all the seasons in one episode. The way it was shot, the way, like, the symbolism. That was the reveal about Jim Delos. And we got Closet Case Becky back. So I'm, like, I am on board with the show. I'm so excited. And so I come into this week's episode, which
doesn't... And you're on a high.
Yeah.
And you're on a high, and it kind of lets you down.
It fell flat.
I agree. And I think the main reason is because right now what I'm most interested in is Bernard.
Yep.
and Man in Black.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is he going?
Yeah.
And what is he doing? And this episode, I got a taste of Bernard at the beginning, and then even nothing.
The sort of, so we want more unfolding about who the robots are, what their mission is, like the game that's afoot.
Yes.
Ford's ideas here, and the only thing we get are Maeve now has magical powers.
Right.
So, like, which is unsatisfying and raises more questions than it answers, and also seems super holy. Like, as in it has holes in it, not as in it's religious.
Yeah.
But, like, so why? Okay. I found myself wondering, can Maeve, I might be digging too deep for meaning. You let me know what you think. Someone sent Maeve off the island. She, according to Bernard, when Bernard was reading, you're going to recruit people, you're going to get an army, you're going to leave, you're going to do this. He says, when you reach the mainland, you will, and she snatches the tablet and breaks it in half and says, I'm doing my own thing. I'm really, this isn't me being sent on a mission. Well, she was sent on a mission. Was Ford the one that sent her on the mission? If Ford, who seems to me the only person that really was the only person that knew what was going on, if she is his vehicle, his tool, and he was getting her off the island or something like that, he would be able to give her those sort of, I don't know, administrative magical powers, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a great, I think you're not reading into it too deeply at all. I think Lauren, when we were watching it, made this great comment. She said, Maeve is Ford.
Shit.
And if you think about it, like Ford can control robots with like a flick of a finger, right?
Yeah.
He can use this magical power that now Maeve can also use.
Yeah.
Now, it definitely seems like it's a little bit different because we're hearing like, her talking
we're in
over.
Her mind.
We're in her mind.
Staticky.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas, Ford can kind of just flick his finger and everyone freezes.
Yeah. I wonder how he interfaces or something, like, because him and Bernard,
unless Ford is a host,
and is Ford, are we going to see
he's the perfected human host that Jim Delos couldn't be,
right, because what was so exciting about last week's episode was we speculated, did Ford and Bernard crack the code? Do they understand? Because Ford had said things like suffering. What Arnold understood was that suffering is essential. It wasn't just that you needed a cornerstone, you needed suffering. It unlocked consciousness. And he got that, and I didn't see it at first, and now I get it. And maybe what they didn't understand with Jim Delos was that suffering, they didn't understand the suffering component. They reached a cognitive plateau, and then it was like his mind was rejecting itself. Right? Or rejecting reality.
Yeah, and I think we get that a little bit more even in this episode when Dolores says it.
Yes.
She says some have to suffer. You have to suffer to grow.
Yep. Yes. And we got to get to this Dolores thing. Oh, it's so this episode was so disappointing for me in so many ways. I don't know what I expected from Shogun World, but it wasn't a direct and, in my view, boring replication of all the things we've already seen. Like, Mr. Evil Shogun had cortical fluid dripping out of his ear, and he cut off all the, Daimo's ears so they couldn't hear anything. And, so there's some sort of, body mutilation stuff that didn't really land because I don't care about those Daimos. So a brutal dictator who's mutilating his loyal followers doesn't have an emotional effect for me.
I think the interesting thing to take away from that, in all honesty, is not so much that he's a brutal dictator and we should be worried about him, because I don't think that's the purpose of showing that. I think the purpose of showing that was to show us that not all the hosts are awake. He's not, they make this comment, right? He's not awake.
Oh, that's a good
He's
find.
Just broken.
Yep, that's a good, so he's not going off his...
Shogun World has not necessarily been as infected maybe as Westworld. This guy just happens to be fucking glitched. Oh, and by the way, there's no one in the Mesa, there's no one in the control center to come in and be like, this guy's glitching off his script.
Everything and reset
yank him out and put him back in.
That's a good call.
Now,
and they have that maze, like in Westworld, they have the secret maze inside their scalps.
Right. And so, but on the other hand, Madame Akane or Akane is not leaking cortical fluid.
Yep.
And she's going off script, right? Britpop is sitting in there and he's like, I wrote this. I know what's going to happen.
Yep.
She's going to have no choice but to hand over Sakura.
Yeah.
And she fucking stabs the dude in the eye. And he's like, what the fuck is going on?
So she's going off script.
She's going off script.
She's making choices.
And my thought is maybe that's because they're interacting with their doubles.
Yeah.
Right? And so we see dragon tattoo lady and snake tattoo lady
face.
like staring at each other. Almost like they're like mirrors, like they're going to raise a hand and raise another hand. The whole time I was watching it, I was just screaming in my head, make out, make out, make out.
Incidentally,
let's be honest, I would love to see that.
Incidentally, that's what I shout at the screen every time Bucky and Captain America are in a scene together. But just kiss already. Kiss already.
Make out. Make out.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's interesting. It would have made more sense if one of them whispered, these violent delights have violent ends. That didn't factor anywhere in this episode. And it factored this season when the friend of Emily, she's in Bengal Tigerland and she's with her side piece.
Yeah.
And she's recognizing that something's wrong and that those were humans. And, and so the host, who was her friend and guide, comes in and he says to himself almost, these violent delights have violent ends, which is a great trigger that things have gone off the rails.
Yeah.
There was none of that I saw in this episode.
No, I agree. I mean, the only glimpse that we get that something's not right is when Britpop says...
the scene you were just talking about.
Not that, that one, but before that, he makes the comment like, as soon as I opened my mouth, they all should have switched to English, right?
Yes.
So all these hosts... have language capabilities, right?
I just remembered that was a thing. I forgot that he even said that. So one of the things that he said was all the hosts, all of you can speak every language.
Yeah, it's buried deep down.
Yep. You may not, it's not unlocked in you, but you all have it. You can do it.
And that's when Maeve realizes, well, I guess I can speak Japanese now.
And
right?
I spoke the wrong language, and then they gag her. Right. So they weren't capable of understanding. So maybe it's like a big... park-wide glitch.
Yeah, there is something going on.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But so we have to dig and dig and dig to find any sort of meaning here. Let's talk about the dance scene.
Okay.
The title sequence, right? Yeah. Evil shogun who has mutilated his people that we don't really care about.
Yep.
And at this point, I'm thinking not a big threat because Maeve has magical powers, so she's just going to shut it all down anyway.
That's what I thought too.
So there's no real tension in the scene.
I agree. I don't think there's any tension at all. And like I said, I don't think the point of this was really drama for Maeve. I don't think the point of this episode was to say, hey, let's put Maeve in danger and let's see how she gets out of it. Right? I think the whole purpose of this Shogun World thing was... let's explore Maeve's Wi-Fi capabilities.
Yeah.
Okay, she's got them. Great. Now she can figure out how to use them a little bit better. And 2, let's give her the realization that not everything... freedom is not free.
Well, okay, so there's that moment where she tells her doppelganger, Akane, I can unlock you. I can give you all these powers.
Yep.
But what Akane wants more than anything is
Sakura.
Is just to have this love relationship that she has with her daughter, her person.
Right.
And Maeve recognizes that and accepts it and is like, you know what?
Yeah.
She makes is the price of freedom or something.
She makes some comment like, it's not worth it if you have to give up everything you love or something along those lines. I forget the exact wording. But she makes this realization that I'm free now, but I kind of gave up my daughter.
It seemed like a sort of respectful understanding.
Yeah.
And so that they were the same, but she wasn't going to... unlike Dolores, let's say, because we're making analogies between the two, Maeve and Dolores. Unlike Dolores, who's going to force Teddy to become what she wants him to be, Maeve recognizes that her doppelganger is making a different choice.
Yep.
And a choice that she herself could see herself making, and so respects it. And does everything that she can to make sure that, she protects this woman and her daughter.
Yeah, and this goes back to, I think, Maeve making some comments a couple episodes ago about, I'm not going to force you to do it. I want you to make a choice, right?
Yep, that's what makes us different than them.
Right,
something
exactly.
like that.
Even though she then goes Wi-Fi on all these people.
I know.
And makes them crazy.
Well,
now an interesting thing about Shogun World now is, where is Hector and Snake Lady and Mushy?
Oh, yeah.
So they like get captured. They get like captured.
Mushy, it's so good. I hope we get to keep Mushy.
Mushy the Samurai, where are you?
Mushy the Samurai.
So they get captured by the captain of the guard, or the Shogun's captain or whatever.
Right.
And then we never see him again for the rest of the episode.
That's right.
Like, where are they? What are they doing?
Yeah.
And we just got Snake Face Lady back.
I feel like for a scene that's going to give me ninjas, I wanted more from it. If you're going to go full out ninjas, like on the rooftops and stuff, it was a boring ninja scene.
What I wanted to see,
it was lame.
What I would have loved to see,
was
like ninjas, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah,
style,
give me some of that shit. Give me robot ninjas.
And the reason why I say that is because not only would that prove to me that these hosts are far superior, but that they can completely extend their capabilities, right?
Yes.
If they can run on water, like, holy shit, right? If they, we already know they
jump
have like
from rooftop, like
yeah,
do
exactly,
superhuman stuff.
Superhuman things. They're fucking robots, right? They can do that kind of shit if they're programmed and printed that way.
Instead, what we get is like
really lame.
A sleepover for no reason. Like, why now of all times are you going to give me the team decides to spend the night at the Mariposa? Why?
Also, Mushy was like, get your rest now. We leave in the cover of darkness.
Leave right now. Leave when it's dark now.
Just fucking leave.
Just go now.
Yeah.
Now seems like a fine time.
Yeah.
And so it was the pacing of the episode was completely off for me.
Yeah.
And when it should have been exciting, it was still boring. And like and it wasn't satisfying in any way.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't further the plot.
Yes.
So I don't care about this episode.
I think I agree with you.
Which is so disappointing.
It is very disappointing. I hope the next episode, and based on what they're doing so far, which is like, Maeve and Dolores, and then Bernard and Man in Black, then Maeve and Dolores.
We're going to get back to Bernard.
I would love to get back to Bernard.
But I think the show has taken a turn. We're getting a little X-Men-y in the next episode, according to the coming next week
stuff. Is there a schnick?
It's Cerebro. So Bernard takes Professor X's Cerebro hat and puts it on, and now he can find all the mutants in the world.
Did you see Deadpool 2?
I did. Did you?
Yes.
Oh my god, I thought it was a great movie.
Hold on. Spoilers.
So
Deadpool puts on Cerebro.
That's so funny. And I knew as soon as he started moving away that he was in Professor X's wheelchair. Oh my god. And of course Kirsten didn't see any of those jokes coming, so she's cackling like a hyena in the movie theater. Oh, we had such a good time. I loved it. It's a Deadpool movie. It was.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds is good, but so what's going to happen? We're going completely off topic, but that's okay for right now. We'll come back. What's going to happen now that Disney's going to buy the rights to X-Men and Fox and all that stuff?
I mean,
they have to continue it, right? They can't.
Right.
They would be stupid to be like, well, Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, you're done.
No, well, I think he is a quintessential Deadpool. He went back and he cleaned up all the timelines at the end. Definitely stay through the end credits.
Yeah, that was really good. That was
Ryan
really
Reynolds
good.
reading a Green Lantern script. I've really made it. It was fun. It was
great.
I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. It was, spoiler, really awesome to see Juggernaut finally in a movie.
Again?
When was he ever in a movie before?
He was in I think he was in a previous X-Men.
In an X-Men movie?
Yes, because
a 90s X, like an early X-Men movie.
It was an early X-Men movie. It was
I don't remember him.
He was definitely in a movie because I remember specifically someone going, it's like, I'm the Juggernaut bitch. Like, they used the meme in the movie. 100%.
All right. Well, I don't remember.
That's why he was captured. You're the comic person. You should know this.
Well, the movies I find extremely disappointing.
Really?
Certain movies, yeah. Like Age of Apocalypse was terrible. Anyway, we're getting too
off topic.
Getting too off topic here.
Let's bring it back.
Yep. Shogun World. So
let's talk about Teddy. I don't want to talk about Shogun World
yeah.
anymore.
Poor Teddy.
Except for Snow Lake. They're going to Snow Lake. It's her cornerstone.
What is Snow Lake?
Cornerstone is
Swan Lake? Are they going to do ballet?
It's called Snow Lake. And Britpop's like, it's Sakura's cornerstone, and there's an access terminal there. We can go. And Maeve's like, well, you're not so useless after all. And now we can talk to Teddy.
Yeah, so
and
utterly unwatchable robot sex. What was this, Dave?
Hold on.
Everything with Dolores is terrible this season.
Except her body.
Except for her in dresses. She looks amazing in dresses.
She also looks amazing not in dresses.
Yeah, that's true.
They give you a glimpse of like the sex line and navel, and I'm just like,
oh yeah.
I mean, hot.
It was, but like,
and then you get to see Teddy butt.
So you think this is the first time they ever boned? When we were doing our Saki Bomb, Dave was like, "That's the first time they've ever boned."
This is the first time they've ever.
True.
This is the first time they've ever boned.
That can't be true.
It's not in their loop for them to bone, and they get reset before they do.
You're probably right.
I know I'm right, but and some.
Why
clues,
does she fuck him if she's just gonna like rip out his personality?
She says tonight I saw you, and he says, Dolores, tonight I saw you too.
God damn.
And then...
what is she doing to this poor guy?
I knew exactly she was going to kill him when she talked about burning the cattle.
Yep. She has to do everything in these complicated farm girl psycho shit.
She brings Teddy around the corner and they're like looking at line and she goes, man, there's been a long time. We've spent a long time here. You know, many times we've talked and he starts on saying what she said in the season 1, which was, let's leave right now. Yep. Let's leave all this behind.
I didn't pick up on that.
They do a little role reversal,
yep.
right? And Teddy's like, we can find our corner in this world and just live in it together. Like, we don't need to do all this stuff. And
in the first iteration, it's Teddy that says, someday there's this one thing I have to do first. And Dolores, who's just waking up, is recognizing that someday usually means never. And so she's picking up on that. But now you're seeing the inverse.
I'm seeing the inverse. And so he says it and she says basically maybe someday, but I've got to do some shit first. And then they start talking about, and he goes, did I ever tell you the story when we almost lost the herd?
It was like blue tongue or something.
It was some plague.
Yeah.
It was killing cows. My dad father figured out that it was the flies.
Yep.
What would you do, Teddy? And Teddy's like, well, I'd shelter the weak.
Yeah.
I'd build a shelter, quarantine them, shelter them, and wait it out.
Keep them separated from the herd.
And wait it out. And Dolores just like caresses his face and is like, you're a sweet boy.
Almost literally pats him on the head like an idiot.
Like, you're a sweet boy. Father burned them.
Yeah, we burned them alive.
And flies don't like smoke. We burned them alive, and the herd survived.
Right.
And then she's like, I'll consider what you said.
Oh, my God.
And then they go back, and they bone, and then she basically, like, reprograms
unwatchable,
him, right?
Unwatchable robot sex. Just, like, it was cringeworthy for me.
Robot sex. Did you ever see Avenue Q? There's puppet sex in that Broadway show?
Yeah.
That's more watchable than...
Yes, that's more watchable.
Than robot sex.
At least they had humor and it wasn't as cringeworthy. Like, yeah, it was beautifully shot and intimate, but the anxiety of they're not human. This is not my own perception or like, I think a wide perception of how robots would bone if they were gonna bone each other. Like, it was just artfully, it was like an art house movie.
Do you think?
Which seemed tonally wrong for the scene.
Do you
I don't
think
get it. Why does she do it?
Robot men ejaculate? Do you think
this is the thing I've been wondering about, honestly? Because there's got to be something sort of...
Do you think it's... How do they end, right?
How realistic? Because if Teresa was fucking Bernard and didn't know he was not human, that is masterful mimicry of human, I don't know.
Organs.
And I don't know. The things. Similarly, if women... are very different body to body. I mean, our stuff is the same, but like things feel different with different people. And so like how much variation? I think I spent too much time wondering about this stuff.
I think you spent a little bit too much time wondering about this.
But it is a thing you wonder about.
I mean, for the most part, there's the thing at the top and then the thing at the sides and you go in and then, right? I mean, That's how these things work.
This ice water is delicious. This drink looks like nothing to me.
Oh, cheers.
But and even the simple things like hand movements, when Bernard's hand is freaking out and he does these very herky-jerky, the actor is doing these movements that are very mechanical. A human hand just holding a cup of water or putting something down is a complicated piece of machinery, right? Like it would be very difficult to achieve any sort of realistic movement, facial muscles.
Well, that's the whole point of Logan, in the beginning of this being like, we're not here yet. No one's here yet. And they're like, we are, bitch. We
are, and it's very, I think, convincingly done. The idea is that it's so convincing you can't really tell.
And I think we have to believe. I mean, we already believe that in the world, right? We can't really question that much.
I wonder if they're doing one of the things I loved about season 1, and I haven't noticed because I think I haven't been paying attention in season 2. There were very small tells in the way the actors played the robots in season 1. So Blondie number 2, kind of both eyes blink at the same time. There's a slight head tilt. They go for, I think the actors are reaching for subtle mechanical movements.
Yeah.
When Teddy and Dolores are talking to each other in the scene that we were just referencing, where he's saying, I have one more thing to do, and she's saying, let's run away together. There is a sort of, not clockwork, but a sort of formality about it that seems robotic.
Yeah.
And I haven't noticed any of that this season. And so I wonder if they're doing it at all, or if they're just sort of fully integrated into...
And maybe that's done on purpose, because they're kind of like awakening and kind of really coming into their own consciousness. So it's less, these are robots talking, and it's more like, these are beings struggling through.
I remember being really impressed with that aspect of the show in the first season and just not really noticing it this season. Yeah. So I'll pay attention to it going forward. We'll see.
Yeah. So what do you think they're programming Teddy to be?
So,
the one guy that they captured says, "Are you sure you want me to do this?"
Yeah. Do you know what they change in him?
Without a full reboot, that's what I'm asking. Without a full reboot, I can't guarantee the changes will stick, or he'll be stable, or whatever.
They crank his bulk apperception up. They crank up his violence, his revenge, like thirst for blood. You see this? I
don't remember seeing this in the...
I think that's what they say. Doesn't the guy say it? And they drop down his empathy and tenderness
I don't remember hearing that. All I remember him saying was, "Are you sure you want me to make these drastic changes?" There's no guarantee he won't be stable without a full rebuild.
Yeah, I remember paying attention to it, but like I said, I didn't take notes. So
right.
Maybe I'm just, I don't know, remembering what I think evil Dolores is doing. Like, why?
Yeah, okay, so
I don't like
that's
Dolores
fine. So that
this season.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting is I don't think it's Dolores that you don't like.
Right.
It's Wyatt, right? And I think that's kind of the point. And so Evan Rachel Wood or Rachel Evan Wood.
Yep, somebody one of those
on Twitter made a comment like, my character is, I'm playing 3 characters this season.
Yeah.
Right? You got Dolores.
Yeah.
You got Wyatt, and you got this awakened person.
The third.
Yeah. Right? And so I think we're seeing all these different characters kind of coalesce and mingle, and what's interesting about that is, does that mean, is she really awake?
Or is she just doing what she's programmed?
Is she just doing what she's programmed?
Then we have the overarching theme of the 2 fathers. So we've got the 2 fathers and then almost the 2 world mothers, right? So we have dead Arnold and Ford.
Yeah.
And the sort of conversation that Ford has been having for the last 35 years with his dead partner.
Right.
And they created life through Dolores, but also through Maeve.
Yep.
You're thinking, and Lauren's thinking, that maybe Maeve is Ford. And
or at least
Dolores, that makes Dolores, if we're doing the sort of parallel, Arnold. And she does seem to know the most about Arnold and was Arnold's favorite, right?
Yes,
like she met real world Arnold. He took her to her house and all this stuff.
They probably boned at some point. I mean,
in a way that was somehow more watchable than what happened with Teddy.
If I made a gorgeous, realistic woman doll, I probably would bone it.
There's a thing, who had said,
maybe just the tip, just to see what it feels like, but
that AI, making a male robot companion would totally would be able to fulfill emotional needs for women in a way that would be super easy because like the bar is so low. There was some article or something. And so like what we need to fear are not female sex robots. It's male sex robots replacing male human companionship because it would be so easy.
Yeah, all you have to do is program it to say stuff like, yes, dear, yes. Oh, Megan's such a bitch. I agree. And
tell me about your day today, honey.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I'm not falling asleep. I'm awake all night with you.
That's right.
Oh, it was a funny article. I don't know, man. So Wyatt is a piece of shit. This Dolores storyline has lost me. Shogun World seemed unnecessary and redundant. I don't know why they needed to repeat themselves here. It seems like lazy writing. And it doesn't, for me, further the story. And I know some people were super excited about it. And yay, ninjas. And yay, Shogun. And like a whole new world. But
I think although I wasn't really bought into this, I think I'm still excited to see where the rest of the season goes, right? Because I think eventually they're going to tie it all in. This is going to
be the low mark.
Yes, I think I agree. This is going to be the low. Yep. Like, we get a really big high.
Yep. Last episode was so good.
And then we kind of come down a little bit.
And I think maybe there's a part of that.
I think now they're going to build it up again, right? Yep. It took them. The first episode of the season wasn't very impactful to me either.
Yeah.
It was very much like it was a setup, and I think this one is going to be a setup. I think we're going to be at the end of the season, we're going to be going back and being like, man, that's why they did this thing, and that's why they did this thing, and Dragon Lady didn't make out with Snake Lady because they're making out in the last episode, and
it's narcissism and lesbianism all in one.
Exactly.
Akane No Mai, her dance is so I think what they're doing with the title, because they've given such thought to all their titles. So I spent the most time thinking about what this could be. And it's about her dance. The guy cold-bloodedly murders her daughter in front of her.
Yeah.
And then she's forced to dance for him anyway.
Do you think she becomes like Maeve in that moment where she truly becomes awake? Where the Maeve's daughter gets killed in front of her by Man in Black.
Yeah.
She grabs him, runs out into the field, and ends up in this maze. Has an awakening. Do you think Akane is potentially having a very similar awakening? Her daughter's murdered right in front of her, and she goes revenge crazy with the hairpin.
Yeah.
And
saws his fucking head off.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
saws his head in half.
I saw it in slow motion. So I mean, maybe, but if that's real time, it looked pretty slow for none of his advisors to jump in and stab her.
Yes.
They're all just kind of sitting down.
What are these guards?
It was very almost anime right? Because
because
she saws the head off, she turns around, faces the camera, and is and then the Shogun stands up and his head falls off.
Yep.
It's very much anime almost,
And I don't know, it is not my cup of tea. And so then they fight, and Maeve has magic powers and wins the day.
Yeah, and that's this whole episode.
And that's it. That's the whole episode. So it was about the dance. She's forced to dance and perform after horrific brutality steals the one thing she cares about. But I don't care about Akane. I don't care about the evil Shogun. I don't really care about Sakura.
Yeah.
I don't find this interesting. And it seems unnecessarily redundant. Why do I need to see a replication in world of lazy writing that Britpop says is, oh, well, I was too busy, so we just borrowed this storyline.
Yeah.
So is it fun? No, I don't want to see this episode. I want this episode to take me somewhere. And for me, in this place, it either didn't take me anywhere, or the places it took me with Teddy and Dolores, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion in a nutshell of Akane No Mai, episode 5?
Episode 5.
Of season 2?
Yeah, so why don't you guys write in and...
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Tell
me
us
what there was to love about this.
Tell us what exactly is going on in this episode that we missed, because Tana didn't bring her notes.
I didn't bring my notes. So the question looming over us is, are they decoy robots?
Yes.
So... all the bodies we're to understand that about a third of all the bodies floating
were fake.
But
potentially, maybe we see Teddy
Yep.
Right? Floating.
Yeah.
Maybe they throw Teddy in this lake,
Yeah.
But the sadistic string bean makes this comment. He says, I want to know where the story turns.
What do you think he means?
And what I think he means by this is every story has like a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines, there's a twist.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's looking for. He's like, this story we see where the story's going right now. The hosts are fighting back. They're rebelling, blah, blah, blah. Where is it going to make its turn into something different?
Yep.
We need to get ahead of that.
Right. And they don't have Abernathy, but the last time we saw them, they had Abernathy. So I think in the next episode, we're probably going to find out what happened to Abernathy.
Yep.
Because I watched the coming next week. Bernard puts on Cerebro and is able to tune into the X-Men network.
Yep.
Dolores and Teddy. Teddy is a vicious machine now with bulk apperception through the roof, but also violent tendencies and like no empathy. So essentially against his own character. What's this going to do to him?
Yeah, what his cornerstone has got to make him this like super nice guy. So how does this bug him out and whatnot?
What is going on with Dolores? Now that Maeve has mind control, does that give her a superior edge the next time she meets Dolores and their paths cross?
Yeah.
And then where is Hector, Snakeface, Dragonface, and Mushy the Shogun?
Mushy the
ninja? What are we calling him?
No, Mushy the samurai.
Mushy the samurai.
Where's
Mushy the samurai? Will we get to keep? This is the question I want to.
Will we get to keep Mushy?
Will we get to keep Mushy the samurai? Also, I would like to, hopefully, in this next week episode coming up, I would love to see what happened at the Mesa. Because there was a knockdown, drag-out brawl there.
Yes.
And part of the flashbacks we see in episode 1 were that we still haven't seen yet were Bernard firing the gun and the gun like slow-mo flashing on his face, ba 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 ba, as he's spraying bullets somewhere, and then him also in the Mesa, red lights flashing, bodies everywhere, hands in his head or head in his hands, freaking out. Yeah. So what is Bernard doing? Is Bernard Alfred Arnold? Is he Arnold somehow? Was the red dot maybe Arnold's consciousness or human?
Oh, I didn't think that maybe Ford printed Arnold.
Yeah, and then had Bernard. Could Bernard be becoming real Arnold? Like his denouement is going to be to resurrect his friend from the dead?
All things we're going to have to find out in the next episode of Westworld Wheneverly. Thanks for joining us today on this interestingly daytime cast.
Yeah.
And we'll
catch you. We'll
catch you on the flippy side.
Oh, if you're going to be in Orlando, Florida this weekend,
yes,
please come by MegaCon. I will be at table. I'm at table 41P, I believe. I'll be there all 4 days of the show. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come by.
If you mention this podcast, she'll give you a hug.
I will give you, all high fives are free, but I'll give you a silk print or art. The first person, any person to come by my table will get something from me for being a fan of the show.
Wow.
It's never happened before at a show.
No one's ever come up to you and been like,
they'll be like, oh, I'll check out your podcast, but they're not like, oh, we're avid listeners of your very popular podcast.
Yeah, right. Of your super unentertaining when you're not drunk podcast. Yeah.
So right. See you guys.
Go check Tana out at MegaCon
2018, baby.
Let's go. Thanks for listening, guys.